Today I am dehydrating tomatoes. So I wanted to give you kind of an overview of this. I do can tomatoes as well, and I freeze them and do all kinds of things with them, but I like to have kind of a variety going. Right now we have a flood of tomatoes coming in from our 3 plants in the garden. So this is a dehydrator that my grandmother gave me, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. But it works great, and it's pretty much set it and forget it. Most dehydrators have a way for you to control the temperature. This one has a handy little key for what to set it at. So for fruits and vegetables, which is what we've got going here, I'm going to set the dial to 135. And there are some finer points here. So I typically slice my tomatoes maybe a ½ inch thick. Maybe a little bit less than that, it just depends. You do want to be uniform as much as possible. But the reason that I cut them that thick is that I have found that any thinner than that on average makes it really, really difficult to get them off these trays once you're done. So by leaving a little more substance, you give yourself a bit of a boost when it comes to taking them off. I start with my whole tomato from the garden, and I cut out this core piece, and what that does is gives you a kind of a pyramid shape, inverted pyramid, because unlike an apple, that core doesn't go all the way through. It's just an extension of where the stem goes on. And then you also want to cut off any blemishes, so I'll cut that bottom portion off as well, and then put them on their side and just start slicing so that you wind up with that cross section that I have here. The other thing about dehydration in general, and holds true for fruits and vegetables also, is you don't want to crowd the trays. And it's best, if you can, to kind of alternate where the empty spaces are. So you can see I've got a piece underneath there and a piece underneath there, so I kind of bridge that gap almost like laying bricks on top, because what you're doing is maximizing the airflow. This model, the air comes from the top and circulates down to the bottom. And your dehydrator might be different. There's lots of different styles and options available, but this is a really great way to preserve food. All right, I've got this going. You can hear the fan probably. It is set to the 135 degrees that this handy little key says it ought to be set to. And you probably notice that we are outside right now. That's because this does throw quite a bit of heat. So this spent about 12 hours plugged in today on the 135 degree setting. And now we're gonna take a look. So some of these are good. So like this one is totally fine. Most of them need a little bit more time. I will tell you, it smells really, really good. But some of them are ready to come out. So it's a good idea to actually check this periodically and take out the ones that are ready to come out so they don't gum up the works for the ones that need more time. This one can come out, but you can tell that even though I cut them kind of thick, they really shrink down to nothing, which is exactly what you want. But by leaving them that thick, they lift off there really easily. So what I'm going to do is just kind of check each of these trays and take off the ones that need to be taken off and leave on the ones that need to be left. And then tomorrow, when we have solar power on the panels again, I'll plug it back in for probably another 2 to 3 hours is my guess. And then this batch will be all ready to freeze. And you can leave them on the shelf, but they'll last longer and better if you just throw them in a sandwich bag and stick them in the freezer. And voila! So 8 or 10 tomatoes, big ones, boil down to a sandwich baggie full of stuff. So dehydration is a great way to save space and to preserve food in a different way than canning, especially with something juicy like fruit, tomatoes, etc. It's a nice way to kind of change its consistency so that when you cook with them later, you don't have all that liquid to cook off or otherwise deal with. So enjoy. Happy dehydrating.